everyone, and welcome back to Gardening Hour. So today we're going to be doing is planting a few more seeds, and we're also going to be checking in on the progress of the seeds that we've already planted. And I think you guys will be surprised, but there are definitely some seedlings out there, so we're going to check it out. We're going to make sure that our plants are watered, and we're also going to make sure that they're in the right place for the sunlight. So we're going to plant today some new seeds, and we are going to start with summer squash. So summer squash needs to be planted in a container that's 12 inches long, so a ruler. It needs a lot of space, and it needs to be covered with about 1 inch of fine soil. So we're going to do that when we get out to the greenhouse. We also have some mixed flowers. So a lot of different flowers that you would see in the garden. We have a breakdown of what's in here as well. So you get cornflowers, painted daisies, a lot of different daisies like garland daisies, larkspur, annual baby's breath, which are the little white flowers, triphida, soapwort, tree mallow, we have Delilah flowers, and we have a bunch of different ones, corn poppy, Clarkia, and a couple different other ones in here as well. So for this one, they just need to be scattered across a container. So we're just going to put in some soil, and we're going to scatter them and see what comes up. We also have cucumbers, so we're going to plant those as well. They need to be about 3 inches apart, and they need to be covered with 1 inch of soil, and we should see them in 7 to 14 days, so that's exciting. And then we also have edible pod sugar peas. So we already have snowbird peas out there, but here's a different type of pea that we're going to be planting today. This one is a little tricky, but we're going to see if we can get them in one container. It says to plant 1 to 2 inches deep, about 2 inches apart. So we're going to try and plant a couple of them in the bigger planters and see if we can get them to come up. And they're ready to harvest in 62 days. That means that the peas will show up in about 62 days. So they're going to take a little bit of time to grow, but it'll be worth it. So we have 4 different things that we're going to be planting today. So that's quite exciting. And we're going to check on the progress of all the plants outside. So we're going to do that as well, and we also need to make sure that they are watered. So I've been making sure that they are watered every day and making sure that the soil stays wet for some of those that need to have moist soil. But we're going to check on the progress, see how many seedlings we have out there, which is super exciting. And then we'll talk a little bit about what plants need. So maybe some things that we need to add to the soil to make sure that they grow nice and healthy. So we're going to head out to the greenhouse and start planting, and we're also going to check on the seedlings. Before we get planting our new seeds, let's check in on the seeds that we've already planted. So this one are green beans. We have so many little seedlings. It's so exciting. So this one actually has quite a few leaves on it as well. And there's one at the end that's just starting to emerge. So you can see right here on the end, that was the seed, and then the seed is splitting open, allowing those 2 little leaves to pop out. Here's one that's just sprouted. Here's one that's starting to come out of the ground. You can see, especially on this one, the seed has split open, and there's a tiny little leaf that's coming out. And then this one also has its 2 little leaves already formed. So that's really exciting. And actually there's one that's still in the dirt, but it's actually almost coming out. So you can kind of see it. It's popping its little seed out, and soon it will have leaves. And now we have our peas. So this one has quite a few little sprouts as well. And this one on the end actually has quite a few leaves, same with that one. And then there's one that's just coming out of the dirt. So we have quite a few seedlings for our peas as well. Also from last time, we see our green onions. This one's actually growing quite nicely, and so is this one on the end. You can see there's a little start of our green onion here. And then we're gonna pop over to marigolds. You can see we still have our tiny little sprout down here. There's nothing else in the container quite yet, but we'll give it a little more time. And then this is exciting. I came in today, and for the tomatoes, we have 2 little sprouts. They're super tiny, and there's actually a second one coming up right next to this one. So we may have to move that one once they get a little bit bigger. But we have 2 sprouts in this one and 1 sprout in this one. Really exciting for our tomatoes. And then if we come over to our sweet peppers, we don't have anything that's showing quite yet, but this is one of the longer seedling times, so it's anywhere from 7 to 21 days. So this one could take quite a bit longer than the rest of them. So we'll keep watering them and checking in on them to see if there are any sprouts. But we're gonna give it a little bit more time. Now that we have checked in on our sprouts, we need to give them something that all plants need, which is water. So we're gonna make sure we go down the line here and give everything some water, even our potatoes and our onions here. All right, and then we're going to give some water to our green beans, and making sure not to put the water right on the plants. And then we need water for our peas. Trying to go around the plants. The water will be soaked into the soil, so all of their roots will be able to get water. We have our green onions over here. Give them some water. And then we'll move over to our marigolds. Make sure that they all have water as well. Our tomato plants. And then I will also just spray the top of our sweet peppers just so I don't disturb any of the seeds. I've placed soil in our planter boxes here, and this first one is going to be our cucumbers. So if we look at what the package says, they need to be about 3 inches apart, and they're going to be covered with about 1 inch of fine soil. So we need to make sure that we keep this watered as well, and the seedlings will emerge in 7 to 14 days. So we are going to now plant our cucumber seeds. I'll show you what they look like. So if you've ever had a cucumber before, these are what are on the inside of your cucumber. So we're going to plant our seeds in the little holes that I have already dug, and they're each about 3 inches apart. So we're going to put 1 seed in each spot, and then we're going to cover them up and water them. Now we're on to our sugar peas. So I have made the holes about 2 inches apart from each other. And because they're in this planter box, we don't really have to worry about the rows because we're not having more than 1 row. But it says plant them 1 to 2 inches deep and about 2 inches apart. So we are going to do that as well. And this is in the full sun, so that's perfect. So here's what they look like. So I'm going to plant about 8 in this little planter here. So 1 in each hole. Oops, there was 2. I'll grab that one in a minute. And we'll go back and let's see if we can figure out which one has 2. I may have to grab another one, but that's okay. And we'll cover these up and then give them some water as well. The next one we're going to move on to is our summer squash, or also known as zucchini. So our plants have to be about 12 inches apart. That's because zucchini kind of grow out instead of up like our peas over here. So we have to make sure we give them enough room to grow. So we are going to plant one right at the end here. And if you look at our packet, it says that you're going to cover them with about 1 inch of fine soil. So we're going to plant one, and here is what they look like. Kind of look like tiny pumpkin seeds, because pumpkin is a squash as well, in the squash family. So that's our zucchini seed. We're going to put one in here and cover it up. And then we're going to put one on the opposite end over here and cover it up. And we'll also give that one some water as well. But we want to make sure that we plant them far enough apart so that they'll be able to grow nice and big. The last planter in the corner over here is for the flowers. So here's our flower packet, our mixed flowers. So what we're going to do is just scatter them across the soil and just lightly cover them with the soil. So they don't need to have any holes for them, but we're just going to take our packet here and we're just going to lightly sprinkle some of our seeds here. You don't want too many because we want to make sure that they have enough room to grow, but that's about half the pack. And then we're just going to brush the soil over them just to make sure that their roots can take hold. And then we're also going to give this one some water as well. On our greenhouse board, I've added in the 4 different seeds that we have planted today. So we have our summer squash, or also known as zucchini. We have 10 to 14 days until we see seedlings. We also have our mixed flowers. They're 7 to 14 days before we will see our seedlings. We also have cucumbers, which is also 7 to 14 days until seedlings. And then we have our sugar peas. These take a little bit longer. It could be anywhere from 21 to 30 days, so about a month. So we might not see any progress on them for a while, but I'm sure they will sprout. So you also can see that I have made check marks next to the ones where we have seen our seedlings. So our snowbird peas, we have seedlings. Our green beans also have seedlings. Our marigolds has a seedling. And then our tomatoes have seedlings as well. We're still waiting on our sweet peppers. And then at the bottom we have our transplant list here. Our onions and potatoes, not any progress yet, but our green onions are starting to grow over again. So that's our list. I will keep this up on the board and we will keep track of the progress. So we just checked up on the board and I have added the new seeds that we just planted out in the greenhouse. But for today we're also going to be talking about the things that plants need to grow. So when you think about plants, right, what things did we add to the greenhouse in order for the plants to grow and survive? So the first thing that we needed to add in was soil. They need soil in order to grow roots, and they also use the soil to gather nutrients. So nutrients is their food source. So a lot of potting soil that you will buy at the store has extra nutrients added into it because the soil that's outside already has nutrients. So when you're buying potting soil, right, they have to add those nutrients in that they would normally get outside. So that's their food source. That's kind of like you having to have breakfast. And then they also have to have water, which we've been providing them. I've been watering them almost every day, depending on if they are outside or inside. You may need to water them more often. Definitely inside plants usually need to be watered fairly often. In the greenhouse, because it's so hot in there, a lot of the water evaporates. That's when it goes into the air and creates clouds outside. But what we have to do in the greenhouse is we usually have to water them almost every day because that water evaporates very quickly and they need that water to survive. Outside though, they get that water naturally when it rains. You may need to supplement them with a little water if it hasn't rained in a week or so, but normally they're okay with just the water that they get from the rain outside. When you're thinking about plants, they also need sunlight. Right? If you kept a plant in the dark, it's never going to grow. It needs that sunlight. So when you're thinking about sunlight, that actually is how the plant makes its own food. Right? It gathers the sunlight, and then the leaves, inside the leaves, you have chlorophyll, all right, and that's what makes the leaves green. And the chlorophyll actually uses the sunlight and water to make what else? Sugar. Plants actually make sugar as their food source. So that's why when you pick an apple off a tree, it's sweet. It has sugar in it from the plant. And that's why the fruits usually are very, very sweet, because they are the product of plants. So they have the little seeds in them, and they're hoping that either people or animals will eat the fruit and then disperse the seeds. So that's what plants use the sun and the water for, to make their own food. And the last thing that plants need is air. All right? They actually do the opposite of what we do. They actually take in the carbon dioxide, and then they produce oxygen. So they're actually helping us to breathe. When you think about a plant, all right, they are taking in our carbon dioxide that we breathe out, and then they are giving us back oxygen. So without plants, we wouldn't be able to breathe. So you can go ahead and thank plants for being able to take that nice big breath. So those are all things that plants need to survive. So they need sun, they need water, they need soil and nutrients, and they also need air. So those are the 4 things that they need to survive. And a lot of plants also have to take into account space as well. Just like we need our own space, plants need a lot of space to grow. And when you think about trees, right, they're usually not right on top of each other. They give themselves a little space so they can get all of that sunlight. And a lot of plants, they really do need that space to grow in order to produce the fruits and veggies that we have today. So when thinking about plants, they need pretty much 5 things to survive, just like we do. So they are living things, living, breathing things, and that's why when you plant a garden, you want to make sure you take care of it. You don't want your plants to die before you can get fruits or vegetables out of them. So make sure that if you do have a garden, you're taking care of it. Make sure you're watering it, it's in a sunny place, and you are providing them with nutrients if they're not already in the ground. If you buy potting soil, make sure that they have nutrients in it as well. So that is all I have for today. Next time we will be checking on the progress again, and because our green beans and peas have started to sprout, I'm also going to show you how to provide them with a place so that they can grow upwards towards the sky. So we're going to need some wire and some netting as well for those. So we're going to build that next time. But for today, we are all done. We have planted 4 new seeds. We've also checked on the progress of our plants, and we talked about what all plants need. So thank you for joining, and I hope you had fun on Gardening Hour. Please comment below with some of the different plants you would like to see in the greenhouse. I still have a little bit of space, so if you have some ideas, please share them below. Also below, if you have started your garden or if you have a few plants, make sure that you show me some pictures. I'd love to see your gardens and their progress. So if you want to take pictures every week and post them to show me, that would be awesome. And then last but not least, also I would like to know why you think it's important to have a garden. I know I asked this last time, but if you're just joining us, why do you think it's important to have your own garden? So what do you think it provides, and what are the important things in owning a garden as well? So thank you for tuning in. Please comment below, and I hope you guys had fun, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys!